Now, to research for this, I listened to a version that was sung by none other than the chairman, Francis Albert Sinatra. And can I confess something to you guys? Closer, closer. That was the first Frank Sinatra song I ever listened to. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the second installment of MFSB Monday here on the Groove Line with your boy Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you wonderful people are doing well out there. Hopefully, you had a good weekend. We talked about the MFSB self-titled debut for the first half of 1973 last week, so it's only right this week we talk about the follow-up in this gem, which is Love is the Message. Love is the Message was released on December 17th, 1973 on Philadelphia International Records, of course, and just looking at the cover art, you can just tell how jarring the images are. The skull with the soldier's hat on, helmet on, the mushroom cloud, from a bomb, the soldier carrying a gun, people protesting, the couple to the left of the right or the left of the skull, embracing, and all of these other things. Like this was one of the records that one of those cover art things from the 70s that just literally stops you in your tracks if you're interested in what cover art was like back in the day. But yes, Love is the Message. It was MFSB's most successful album. It went number one R&B, it went number one dance, it hit top 5 pop. It was their most commercially successful album. Is it their best? I'll leave that up to interpretation once we get to the end of MFSB Mondays, but it has its merits. Make no mistake about it. For one, the cover songs are very intriguing. They did a version of the song that one of Johnny Taylor's biggest hits, and definitely one of the biggest songs in 1973. Bum, bum, bum. It's cheaper to keep her. Now, this record is important, from a cultural standpoint, because again, this is the point in time in American history in the 70s when women are, you know, taking their power back or gaining power for themselves. They're taking these dudes to court for alimony, for child support, filing for divorce for the first time. Like this is one of those records that the dudes are saying, okay, it's a new ball game now. Like you can't just cheat on your woman in peace like you used to do back in the olden times. You got to be able to pay up if you're going to cheat. So Johnny Taylor can't. Mac Rice was the writer of "It's Cheaper to Keep Her," and it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, man, you know, do I really want to go through divorce? Do I really want to go through child support? What I got on the streets can't be as secure as what I got at home. So It's Cheaper to Keep Her was born. And the MFSB version is very organ heavy. I'm not sure if it's Lenny Picula or Leon Huff playing it, but you hear that organ on the MFSB version. Bump, da, bump, da, ba, bump, ba, ba, and the It's Cheaper to Keep Her. It's it's horns. I think it's a vibraphone. I'm not sure if that's Larry Washington or Vince Montana was their vibraphonist. I don't know how I missed out on that. But yeah, it's Vince Montana doing it. So that version of It's Cheaper to Keep Her is obviously all about MFSB flexing their instrumental credentials. And the same can be said of My One and Only Love, which is an old jazz standard. Now, to research for this, I listened to a version that was sung by none other than the chairman, Francis Albert Sinatra. And can I confess something to you guys? Closer, closer. That was the first Frank Sinatra song I ever listened to. Sorry. I got nothing against the chairman. This was the same dude who told Vegas Quincy Jones better be able to direct my shows, or you dudes can bleep off. So I got nothing but love for the chairman, but I just haven't had a chance to get into his music. But yes, his version of My One and Only Love is what you would expect it to sound like from Frank. Very grandiose. So, the MFSB version, similar. Like I said, it's more or less, a lot of this is a showcase for Zach Zachary, who was their lead saxophonist. Like he has two short interludes on here called Zach's Fanfare. And it's definitely a showcase for his saxophone skills, which probably played a huge role in the early days of Philly Soul and Philly International, getting off on the ground floor like that. And there's also we did a whole entire episode of their version of Touch Me in the Morning by Diana Ross. And if you guys want to check that episode out, I'll put that link in the description below. And Diana Ross's version of Touch Me in the Morning, of course, is very, shall we say, Diana Rossi, very pop. The MFSB instrumental is gritty. It's on the dance floor. It, like I said on the previous episode, it tells you what the future of disco is going to be in terms of not just the music but the culture. Because that version, because the song "Touch Me in the Morning" is talking about, how we used to do all of these different things, and now we're not going to be together anymore. So just touch me one more time before you go. And that was what that culture was like in the '70s. People hooked up all the time. No, regardless of, I mean, sexuality was fluid in the '70s. Absolutely. People were, getting with each other that had probably never even chosen to experiment. You know what I mean? So it that song just sort of foretold what disco culture outside of the music would become. I mean, the party lifestyle. And the MFSB version, again, there's Zach Zachary on the saxophone. There's, a very steady drum beat by none other than Earl Young, of course. So you get the whole proto disco, enchilada with the MFSB version of Touch Me in the Morning. Then, of course, we get to talk about the originals, and the originals are legendary on their own. Of course, the album starts off with the title track, Love is the Message. Now, if you're looking for the 3 Degrees version, it's not going to be on the original print, the original pressing. If you want to find the MFSB version of Love is the message that I bring to you, you'll have to, find an alternate version of the album for that, which you can find on any digital streaming platform, of course. Same goes for the TSOP, Soul Train theme. Do you know how big that was for Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff and Philadelphia International in 1974 for Don Cornelius to say, what's happening, gang? I want to use TSOP for the big train. And I know that had to be like an incredible boost of confidence for everybody at Philly International, because for the 73, the second half of 73, 74, and I think most of 74, 75 on the seasons of Soul Train is you hear MFSB and Sid McCoy. No, yeah, Sid McCoy was the announcer, the voiceover guy. Soul Train, the hippest trip in America. 60 non-stop minutes across the tracks to your mind with the best in soul. Do, 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 do. Like, if I know Kenny and Leon just had to be sitting there like, yeah, we did that. That's us. We are on national television, bro. Syndicated even. Like for 73, 74, 75, that had to be an impressive accomplishment for them. And there's also a vocal version, of course, with the 3 Degrees. Of course, they're saying on the TV show, it's Soul Train, Soul Train. And then, of course, on the remix version, there's the do 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 do. Let's get it on. It's time to get down. Yeah, again, that's not on the original pressing of Love is the Message. Like I said, you'll have to find the alternate version, whatever the expanded version, the remaster, whatever. You can find it, obviously. You're smart people. I trust you. But yes, again, and then there's a song that closes out the album that has like 2 different parts. It's called Bittersweet. This was written by the late Bruce Halls and Jack Faith. Bruce Halls was another one of those unsung songwriters and producers at Philly International that didn't get the credit that he deserved. Same for Jack Faith as well. And it's very, groovy. I mean, the first part is kind of gets slow a little bit, but the second part, it just kind of sort of gets into a little bit of a 2-step rhythm, and it's a pretty neat cut. It's a pretty neat cut. I highly recommend you check, the entire album out. I mean, again, this album went gold for MFSB, so it was their biggest seller, and again, it did, top 5 numbers in R&B and dance and pop. So Philly International was never hotter than in 1973. I mean, they would continue to be great for most of the '70s, we'll say. But that early run, from 72 to, we'll say, right up to the time when the original MFSB players left, 75, 76, they were just unstoppable. And they continued to put out good music, but I think the original feeling, the camaraderie was gone after Earl Young, Ron Baker, and Norman Harris, cut ranks and went to South Soul Records. But that first part of the '70s, like the first half of the '70s, if you were a Philadelphia native and a Philadelphia music fan, like you just had to feel like you were just the luckiest person in the world. That would be my feeling. To be able to listen to Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, the OJs, who weren't from Philly, but might as well have been adopted by Philadelphia. Same for the Spinners. Of course, you had your homegrown groups like Blue Magic, Stylistics, Delphonics, 3 Degrees. It had to be a great time. Like it had to be a great time. And Love is the Message was just another one of those projects that Philadelphia International put out that just firmly stamped them as hit makers in a decade where that term came to be used loosely in some respects. But for Philadelphia International, they just had an incredible run in the first half of the 70s. And Love is the Message is part of that. So if you have not checked that album out yet, go check it out. If you have, what is your favorite song on Love is the Message? Let's talk. And that's going to do it for this ride on the Groove Line. Greatly appreciate you wonderful people for tuning in. As always, contact information will be in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe, tap that notification bell so you're notified of all new videos that drop on this channel. And don't forget to like and comment on these videos because as you know by now, your boy talks back in the comments. So thank you guys for riding with us on the Groove Line. And until the next time we ride, may you find the groove or may the groove find you.